This week we got back into working on the ballast tanks. I finished the flanges that go on the aft two ballast tanks, and then we put the first couple coats of paint on the boat, which are going into the ballast tanks. We're coating the inside of the tanks. And then I went back to the head and worked on iteration number 2 of the head layout, and so far I like this new one better. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. A couple months ago we cut out the ballast tanks. They were necessary for heavy weather racing in the Southern Ocean. Our goal is to reorient them to be smaller, about 1/3 the capacity that they were before. This will give us more space for the galley, seating, and storage. The original ballast tanks also used salt water, and we are going to rebuild them to hold fresh drinking water. See episode 51, which explains the ballast tank modification more in depth. A few weeks ago, I built the flanges for the forward ballast tanks. I think it worked really well, and so I'm going to go ahead and start working on these aft ballast tanks, building the flange on them. What it is just making a flat surface that the cap of the tank can be glued to, instead of putting the cap down and then reaching in through the cap to laminate the underside without being able to see what I'm doing. One of our viewers suggested I make it kind of like a tube of toothpaste, so I can just roll it down and it squeezes out. That's a pretty good idea.
It's been a little while since you've had a good lamination session.
It has been a while. I don't remember how to do it exactly.
Oh no.
I'm forgetting steps. lower flange is done, and as you can see, it creates this really nice gluing surface for me to just glue the lid down onto the tank to seal it up. So the next step is to paint the inside of the tanks, and then I can glue the lids on once I'm done painting. We are really excited to introduce Dave, who is our new sponsor. He is representing Interlux, All Grip, and Seahawk, and they are going to provide paint for the Duracell project. So thanks for coming aboard, Dave.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's a real pleasure to be here. Again, my name is Dave Atwater. I cover the West Coast for Akzo Nobel, and that is the parent company of the yacht division that encompasses Interlux and All Grip and Seahawk yacht finishes. And saw your project online and was familiar with the boat. Saw the level of craftsmanship that you've been putting into this and got really excited about it, and thought to myself, I am not going to let anybody else go over and help you out with this project. This project will have, it had an All Grip on it originally.
Yep.
And I was not going to let any other coating go on this boat besides All Grip. A little bit about Akzo. We do coatings. That's all we do. If you can coat it, we do it. So we do golf balls in the inside of aluminum cans and all kinds of crazy stuff, an entire car division and truck and bus.
Wow.
On top of our yacht division. So again, really behind the whole fast cruiser. I'm a sailor myself, and I've always thought, as we've discussed before, that Santa Cruz 50 was kind of the ultimate cruising machine.
Exactly.
And you're going in that direction. And yeah, just really excited to be part of the project.
Awesome. Yeah, we're really excited to have you aboard. And not only is Dave providing the paint for the project, but also the experience and the knowledge for us to make sure that we do go through the right procedure to get the boat painted in a, so it looks really nice when we're done with it and the paint doesn't fall off the boat.
There's a lot that goes into coatings, and we want to make sure that, number one, it looks good. And it's shiny and glossy when it hits the water, and people walk down the dock and nod their head and go, yeah, that's a good looking craft, as well as protecting what's underneath it. You're doing a lot of work with epoxy and everything else, and now none of that is UV stabilized. We need to coat it. We need to make sure to protect it against the sun, to make sure it doesn't degrade. And we, like you said, we want to make sure that what we do as far as primers and fairing compound and more primers and top coat, that all sticks. Yep. And it sticks well.
So I'm starting to finish up the water tanks in the boat, and I'm getting ready to paint them. And we got a lot of questions in the comments a few weeks ago when we were first talking about these tanks. And the questions were about what we're going to coat the inside of the tanks with. And so I asked Dave, he brought up these paints for us to use. And so what did you bring us to coat the inside of the tank with?
So reached out to the local international rep that deals with heavy marine and said, hey, here's the size of our tanks, here's what we want to do, it needs to be for potable water, what do we need? And he suggested 975p interline. And so that's what we have here. So this is NSF, it is FDA approved. It's not going to leach any bad chemicals into your potable water. It's going to keep things fresh. And yeah, it's the right product for the size of tanks that you have.
Cool. And is it just one coat that I'm putting on? Do I roll it on?
You're going to roll this on. It's a 2-to-1 mix, 2-part component. You're going to roll it on, just one coat, and you're going to be ready to go.
Cool.
It's going to be quick and easy for you.
Right on. My mom's been helping me all day today get ready to do the first paint job on the boat. It's taken us 1.5 years to get to this point where we're finally putting paint on the boat. And we're painting the inside of the water tanks, the freshwater tanks. I'm going to do the lower sections of the 2 forward ones this evening. And what we're going to do is paint the inside of the tank here, and we're also going to paint the underside of the lid. The lid is all masked off where the gluing surface is going to be. After the paint is cured, I can put a bunch of glue on the flange surface here and on the lid and set it down. My mom and I got the inside of the forward tanks and the undersides of the lids painted. We rolled on the paint, which does not apply as thick of a coat as spraying, so I will have to apply another coat in the near future to get enough millage required for the paint to work.
Once you glue on the top, how far along are you in this ballast modification project?
About halfway, because we still have to build the upper section of the tank. So we'll glue on the top, and then I have to laminate it in on the top, and then we'll start building the upper section. And then the tanks themselves will be done. There's plumbing and stuff that will have to be done later, but that's later in the project. Last week we mocked up the head, and after sitting on it for a couple of days and also reading through the comments, there were some really good design ideas, and it made me think harder about the layout. It decided that I don't like how this is laid out now, and so we're going to take the shower apart specifically and reorient it more aft in the head. That's what we're working on today. I have reoriented the head, a second iteration, and I am very curious to see what you think. I like it better.
It's the same from the outside.
Yeah, it's the same footprint.
Wow, it's so much bigger. How is that possible? It feels so spacious, but you said it's the same footprint as the last mock-up. So, it's awesome.
Well, I just moved the shower to where the toilet was in the last mock-up, in the last layout, and I don't know why it didn't, it wasn't obvious to me before, but, you know, people commenting, suggesting this made me think about it harder, and it's like a no-brainer. It works really, really well. So, yeah, it freed up a lot of space in this area.
It got rid of a lot of like sharp corners and...
Yeah, tight spaces, and yeah, the last layout was really awkward. This is really nice.
The shower is more spacious. I know you said it's just, 6 inches, but it just feels much more spacious.
Yeah, it's 6 inches like deeper this way, and it has a little bit more overhead room too. I won't be able to put a hatch above the shower where this is because there's like a deck stringer right here. So but there'll still be a deck hatch in the bathroom.
Then the composting toilet will be in that corner there, right?
Yeah, right, as close to the center line as possible there.
So is this the one? Is this our future head?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. So we have a few extra patrons to thank this week. We're still playing catch up from when we were gone for a few weeks. The first patron we'd like to thank is Martin. He lives in the South, and he lives aboard his 1972 Islander with his cat and his dog. He is into racing, boat maintenance, and building all sorts of projects, most recently a tiny houseboat. And he's documenting it all on his YouTube channel, so check it out. Another time, another place.
Yep, and thank you to Ed and Alex, who are from the Bay Area. Ed has his day skipper's license and has sailed in the Caribbean or in the Mediterranean. Thank you very much, both to Ed and Alex.
Thanks so much to Randy and Ann. They're in Michigan, and they both grew up on the water sailing small boats. And recently, they got into keelboat sailing, and they bought their own J35 Amante. So we're very excited for them for all their sailing adventures ahead, and thank you so much.
And thank you very much to Greg, who is from Perth in Australia. Greg has some sailing experience, but he has finally decided to make the right choice and buy himself a sailboat. And so we wish him luck in the beginning of his endless search for the perfect yacht. So thank you very, very much, Greg.
Hopefully not endless.
And lastly, thank you to Arthur and Olga in the Netherlands. So Arthur is a boat builder. He said he was a hobbyist until he was 35 and then became a professional. And he said he's a sailor at heart. They still have a really old wooden sailboat that they keep up but they do mostly power boating. But he builds steel boats for a company in the Netherlands. So thank you very, very much to Arthur and Olga.